Hey guys, it's Trix. Welcome back. What's up guys? Today I'm going to be drawing a pink penguin. Yes, you heard that right. And yes, I also have no idea what pushed me to make a pink penguin. I went on this whole deep dive into paint markers, and it all started when I was playing around with some cheap alcohol-based ones. And then at some point, I wanted more colors, so I decided to start saving up for a Posca, which is the more accessible brand of paint markers on this side of the Pacific. I stumbled once and bought very cheap water-based and permanent markers. That's what I'm using right now. And the amount of colors that I was able to get for quite cheap at that time inspired me to just start. Just get on with it and start making stuff. So then the pink penguin came alive. So these are the water-based markers that I got for less than $1 each. And I was blending with these water-based markers and it was a dream. But this paper, this cheap, thick paper from the bookstore, they are a nightmare. The problem with these cheaper ones, however, is that not much of the paint comes out when you try and use them. In this next clip, you will see how aggressive you have to be so that you can get some of the paint to release onto the paper. By this point that I'm making this voiceover, I've already been able to buy a couple of Posca pens and I've been able to try them already. So I know that it's different when it comes to releasing the paint and it's a much smoother process. However, given the nature of paint markers and how it's more typical to create gradients rather than actual blending, going to be quite expensive for me to try and complete a whole set of the rainbow for Posca markers. So even though these don't really work as well, I'm not going to give them up and I'm not going to let go of them. I'm just gonna keep on working with them until all of the paint runs out. This is me trying to take out some paint so that I can actually paint them. And like I said, it's quite difficult for these paints to release from the marker itself. You have to push them out bit by bit and then use that amount to blend them out. They don't really come out smoothly while you're just painting on the paper. Nevertheless, one thing I wanted to practice with this piece was the blending between water-based markers because they can blend and quite nicely, as you can see from this clip, as opposed to the penguin itself, in which I decide which parts are actually in shadow and which parts are not and which parts are highlighted, because when I use the actual paint markers, it's much more difficult for them to blend since they are more opaque and would simply just go over one another if you try to put them on top of each other. Now, this wasn't supposed to be a review video, but I think I'd just quickly gloss over the different markers I use, simply because I have a lot of cheaper alternatives rather than using purely Poscas, since that's very expensive and actually hard to find, especially if you don't go to the special art stores. So if you go to the more readily available bookstore, you'd be able to still receive a bunch of different markers, and all of them do well of their own accord, especially for being cheap ones. So I use Sharpies, I use Pentel, and I use Stabilo markers, as well as other non-branded markers that I just found around. All of these were used at some point in this piece, and I can say that all of them have their different advantages and disadvantages. So the lesson of this whole thing is that when you receive new medium, always try them out first. It doesn't really matter so much how much they are or how cheap they are, because you still might be able to find something great about them. So this is the final piece. It's my pink penguin and my other pink stationery. Like and subscribe, everyone, and thanks for watching.